All right, yeah, sure. So we wanted to have this meeting for deciding a name for EL merge client code name. To provide some context, last December, December 12th, Ethereum cat herders organized a breakout room meeting for consensus layer with Shaiwei from the Ethereum Foundation to help decide the CL client code name for the merge. And a CL team, the consensus layer team, were planning to have the name based on B star. We did receive good nomination and some unique proposal. And after the voting, the winner was Bellatrix, Latin name for female warrior. And that was also the 25th brightest shining star in the night sky. So today we are looking into this EL merge client codename for the merge upgrade. And we have received good nominations here. If I can share the screen, maybe I'll be able to, share all the details.
Please.
Okay. All right. So Tim Bako started this thread for EL merge client release naming. So Tim, if you would like to just briefly introduce about the process, and then I can take people with the nominations and everything else.
Sure. I mean, I think, yeah, most people on this call are probably aware, but in case you're not, we have this thing called the merge, but the merge refers to a bunch of different things happening, including like implementing some changes in the execution and consensus layer, and then going through the entire transition where we hit terminal total difficulty, we transition to proof of stake, and we finalize a block on the proof of stake side. So because like the merge is this whole thing, the actual client releases that support this functionality are like a subset. We usually have names for those that follow specific conventions. And people didn't want to just call this the merge. So here we are trying to discuss what to call the execution layer release of associated with the merge, basically.
That's right. So we have received quite a few nominations, and I'm just gonna name them all. All these nominations are already available on the Fellowship of Ethereum Magician thread that we looked into. So the names are, one is Zert Taleb. I don't know, I may not be able to pronounce it properly. It was actually an echo of Bellatrix, right? And we received quite interesting names. So I'm just gonna have one line definition for whatever nominations we have received. Next one is Malaspania Glacier, that was proposed based on the like merger of multiple glacier. Now that we are in execution layer, which is like Ethereum mainnet, and that had seen multiple upgrades to push the difficulty bomb, and we tried to name the name Glacier with the difficulty bomb. Paris was proposed as like first massive non-DevCon conferences, because even on the execution layer side, people were interested to have the name based on city that is related to DevCon, like we are having a DevCon there, and anything related to DevCon, but Shanghai was already taken for probably the next upgrade. So this was the proposal to have some name picked up from the earlier DevCon conference. Finally, this is like one of a kind name nomination. And when I talked to the proposer, he said that, oh, I didn't have anything specific in my mind. It was just like, finally, this is happening. And that's why I want to propose the name finally. So that's how we received this nomination finally. Serenity, most of the people related with the H2, because we have this like Serenity divided into phases, and phase 0 was published. There is this proposal 2982, which talks about these things, but that was also proposed like as merging the EL and CL client, because the merge is like one of the biggest change in which we are definitely moving towards proof of stake. The main algorithm will be changed. Horizon, I think it was just like Horizon Fork, like all about going beyond the horizon. And it says that it fits with earlier fork name, like we had Homestead, Frontier, so kind of horizon there. But I believe what should be of importance is like, it's not the entire upgrade, it is just the client code name for execution layer client that they can add it to the codes. Los Angeles, that is another city name that was proposed, and that is the city of stars. Holocene, the period after glacier, someone proposed glacier, and this was like after glacier. Now we are not expecting difficulty bomb. We don't have to push the ice age. So yeah, this is the period after glacier, quite sensible. And there was this another one, halocline. This is like by a proposer who is a diver. So he had this thing added based on his experience. So it's a place where two different substances meet. Other few nominations are Tigris, no relevance was provided there. Terminus, end of transportation line, and Gaia, the personification of the earth. It's a short, relatively unique, and may pair well with Bellatrix. So yeah, because we already have Bellatrix. So this is another thing, like people were trying to propose names which are close to that. That's quite interesting. And after having all these 12 nominations, what we did, we shortlisted 4 of them based on like the hearts, the love that they have received in the Fellowship of Ethereum Magician page. So we just are trying to discover a method how people are supporting their proposal and how they are voting. So that was the first thing of considering shortlist, that is considered from Fellowship of Ethereum Magician page. The first one was with the highest hearts receiving here, and that was Halocline. As I mentioned, that the proposer is a diver, so he had this great picture in mind, like with ocean and this salt composition. Serenity was the second one on the voting side from the FEM page. Paris, number 3, and finally was on number 4. After that, we also had this Twitter poll. We did a Twitter poll from the Ethereum cat herders Twitter. And if we look into this chart, Serenity received the most love. It is 32.9. We received a total of 167 votes. And based on the poll, what we did finally is like having a combination of both votings from the FEM plus the Twitter. And I have just added here like hearts from FEM and Twitter's, whatever Twitter numbers that we received from the polling. Looking into all these pictures, it looks like Serenity has received most of the votes in combination of FEM plus Twitter. So that is so far that I have got to share. But if anyone on the call has anything that they would like to talk about and share about their favorite, or what do you think about the entire process of going for this selection of name? Do we have Light Client on the call? I think the Serenity, this name was proposed by Light Client. So if, yeah, I see Timbeko, you have hand raised.
Happy to let Matt go first if you want to make the case for Serenity.
Yeah, I can give a shot at making a case. I think that the term Serenity has been used for this idea of moving to proof of stake for a long time. And I realized that early on, it was used for kind of the ultimate combination of proof of stake and sharding. And with the merge, we really only have half of that. But I feel like the work that's gone into proof of stake and the magnitude of the change versus what we've done in the past with the protocol is so great that I think it's a very reasonable upgrade to use the name for. And I think it's like a very fair thing in terms of naming, in terms of thinking about what an upgrade is. And if Serenity was this upgrade where we do proof of stake and we do sharding, and we realized that, the scope of this was so large that we clamped the scope down to just be proof of stake. This is like a very typical way of releasing things. And so I think like in the future we can come up with some other name for sharding. But to me, this is one of like the most important upgrades for Ethereum, and would be like very comfortable using an important historic upgrade name for it.
Okay, I guess my disagreement here is I feel like it's a bit unfair to take the Serenity name just for the execution layer. So if we called like the merge, like the whole process Serenity, I think I'd be more in favor. But I think the fact that the consensus layer folks have it Bellatrix, it seems like a bit like stealing almost, that like we would call our half Serenity and then they get stuck with like the, everyday name. So that's, I don't know, my biggest...
I personally would rather we just call it Shanghai. Like I would rather we just stick with the naming convention. That would be my my personal, but I feel like that's just so far out of what anyone wants to do.
I think Tim's argument that this would be stealing from consensus layer has convinced me to vote for Serenity.
Yeah, I don't know. I would be, Sorry, go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, it's an interesting point where it's like, are we at the end of an era of cities and metropolis and starting a new era within Serenity? I was kind of previously on the page if we should have one last city that echoes the consensus layer's choice of using stars, but I really like the forward-looking nature of looking towards Serenity as an era that we're starting here. I'm also very compelled by Tim's point. It does kind of feel like a yoink.
Yeah, and I
think the consensus layer going to use Serenity?
So I think you could make an argument that after the merge, we can call like the upgrade where we do sharding, Serenity, and keep the same name. Like, I don't know, maybe then we have like a silly name, or there might be sub names across both layers, or maybe not. But like, I think the upgrade where we do deploy sharding is like maybe what we call Serenity. And yeah, I do agree with Justin. I like the city names. Like I liked Paris because of that, because it's like we kind of stick to the convention. It's like a nod to the community, but yeah, it mirrors Bellatrix in that like we're not going completely away from our conventions.
I see Dan's.
Yeah, so maybe my counterpoint against Serenity would be if I search already in Google or somewhere Ethereum Serenity, I get a lot of results from the old roadmap of what was Serenity. So it could be maybe very confusing if we now reuse this name, because if people are searching for it, they will get a lot of outdated results.
One point that I would like to mention here is like Serenity and Paris, they are very close. If we look into the voting percentage, like they are very close. Just by 9 votes, Serenity is ahead of Paris. And again, there was this third nomination finally, that is like a little less than that, but obviously we are considering all the voting. So if there is any other argument for Paris or for Serenity, please go ahead. I'm wondering if there is a way that we can collect voting from the present participant.
Coin vote?
Sure, let me just mint an ERC20 token.
I
Be
mean,
sure to match everyone's Ether supply with the token.
Yeah, okay. The argument that Paris is like Perry, I think is incredibly strong. I think Gary is tipping the scale here.
That's interesting. I'm not sure, like when people were having this nominations for execution layer client, it was not specifically mentioned that the nomination has to come for a city name, though we got it there. So yeah, I think anything that the present group decide plus the voting suggest would be a good one. Sorry, I think I saw light client unmuting.
I'm good.
I don't know coin voting is possible at this point of time or not, but we can't expect anything less than that when a lot of devs are on the call. So yeah, any suggestion on how to proceed?
So just to be clear, I guess, is there anyone who feels strongly outside of Serenity in Paris? Is there like a third option that?
Personally, I was in favor of, sorry, that's not among the top two. I was in favor of finally, because finally Bellatrix sounds perfect for me.
Wow. Do we want to have just a vote between Paris and Serenity?
I'd like to kick around finally if we're actually, are we serious about that one, or is it just a little smirk and a wink?
Well, the idea is to have this name announced today, so the changes can be done to the client code base, and like just like Bellatrix is everywhere when it is CL merge codes. So yeah.
I think if you want to make a case for it, Justin, go ahead.
I mean, I don't know. I'm actually kind of hung up on like, well, what is the next one going to be? Like if this is our last city, then it should be a city and it should be a decisive city. And if we're going to move to something else, then
we might keep cities if, you know, like Shanghai is a city, obviously.
Yeah.
And there is a world where like we keep this like 3-name structure. I know some people hate that, but like there's a world where like maybe the full upgrade, you know, has like a specific umbrella name, but then the specific client releases on both sides have like subnames. So like, yeah, it is possible we keep the cities. But yeah,
I'm
unsure.
Team Paris then.
So if we can get, I mean, so far I can find 2 names to support for Paris here in the chat. One is Pari and second, Justin just said that. By Twitter poll, the difference between Paris and Serenity is 9, though from the FEM post, I think there are 3 more, so a difference of 12 is there, but I'm not sure like what would be the best way here to decide on it. Any suggestion?
Oh, I see light client, the Serenity maximalist has moved over to Paris, so we might
Capitulated.
oh.
I like Serenity, but Paris is just as good to me.
Does this mean the votes that we have received for Serenity may be transferred to Paris? I don't know.
Are there any
Do I have that power?
maxis left? It's rough consensus, light client. You have all the power.
Right.
I think we could get everyone 30 minutes back today and just go with Paris.
I like it. And then Paris can fix the merge before Paris.
Well, that sounds reasonable. I mean, time is of essence, and if many people are on board with Paris, and Paris also goes with the process of selection of a name, just like CL team did it for the star name, and we are picking up Paris, which is closer to DevCon, if not the future DevCon, but the one that was before the DevCon was formally started. So I think we are good with that. And yeah, Tim, if you would like to do the honor of because you started the thread and the discussion and all.
Yes, it's Paris. That's awesome. I'll post it on ETH Magicians and Twitter. And light client, you'll get a cupcake. in Amsterdam.
Amazing.
Yeah, and we all get 30 minutes back. Wow.
Who would have thought a bike
Yeah.
shedding meeting going short?
Love it. Oh,
Beauty.
should we just end it as people are slowly coming off mute and like raising objections? Just kill the Zoom.
Yeah, close it
That
down.
would be that would be wise. I'm just sitting here thinking of how can I make this go on for another 30 minutes.
Yeah. Cool. Well, yeah, thanks everybody. It's Paris.
Yeah, thank you
It's
so much
been-
for showing up. And yeah, it was nice to see all these people coming on, which I was definitely not expecting. But all the suggestions coming from most of the Ethereum developers, that was nice to have, and coming up to a consensus, saving 30 minutes for rest of the people's life. Thank you everyone for joining us today. And yeah, thank you, Timbeko. We can now just formally announce it on Twitter and on your GitHub issue.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Yay.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay.